actually. I really like to stress that. First of all, I'd really like to thank City of Angels for being probably the greatest organization I've ever had the liberty to walk into in my life. Not only are they saving lives of everyone that they could possibly get their hands on, but they saved my life as well, and I didn't even know it. There's a lot of things that I always want to say when I speak, and I probably forget a good 80% of them, but I'm going to give it a go today. You know, when I was growing up, I had a pretty good childhood. I can't complain about the wonderful things that I did, the wonderful family that I have, because they are wonderful. And, you know, just like everybody else is saying, like, nobody decides they're going to grow up and be a drug addict. Nobody says when they're 5, hey, Mom, I'm going to be a drug addict when I grow up. Nobody says that. So I think that's important to say, because I know when I was growing up, I wanted to play soccer and do this and do that and go skateboarding with all my guy friends, because I was a tomboy growing up and I loved every second of it. That's what I like to do. I got good grades, I did what I had to do, and I didn't think anything of, you know, anything that was going on around my life. The fact that my parents split up and I lived in like 20 different houses and all of that. That never really affected me. I guess I was on a pink cloud like my whole life, because I never really stopped to think about it. But I really want to say that probably between the ages of 16 and 19 was when everything kind of went downhill. And drugs don't discriminate with anybody. You could be, you know, you see celebrities and people going into rehab every day. Clearly drugs don't discriminate. If somebody walked up to me and said, hey, are you a recovering heroin addict? I wouldn't know what to say. But, I mean, I don't think anybody would come say that to me. And that's what I mean about drugs don't discriminate, because they don't. But, I mean, between 16 and 19, I had a lot of troubling things happen to me. A kid that I really trusted with all my heart decided he was going to sexually abuse me. And that, I kind of just took that as like, well, this probably happens, so, and I felt bad for him, so I didn't want to say anything. And I just buried it, and I never brought it up to a group of people until today. But I think it's kind of important, because we all have secrets that we don't want to share with anybody. But, you know, you gotta let them out sometime. So, not too long after that, a kid who was like a brother to me died of a drug overdose. And that day, I remember saying, I'm never going to use because of him. I said it every day, probably, and that meant a lot to me. I really thought that that was going to be like the change of my life. Like, okay, this is it right here and now. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to pick up a pill. I'm not going to put anything on my nose, and that was the end of it. Well, that didn't really go as I planned. When I was 19, I got into a car accident, the whole nine, totaled my car. Then a few months later, I had a snowboarding accident, I got a concussion. So that was 2 head injuries within a couple months of each other. And then a month later, I had my first seizure. That was weird. I was in class eating my usual breakfast of Pop-Tarts and Red Bull, and, you know, waking up with a bunch of people around me, and I have no idea what's going on. So that was my first run with seizures. I've had, I think, 8 or 9 since then, and they're not fun. It's not fun waking up in front of a million strangers, asking them what's going on when you have no idea what's going on. It's painful. You just don't get it. You don't know why it's happening to you. So I had a really great father. He was everything that a father could be. Even though my parents were divorced, he was always there, and we would go on like hikes and go bike riding and go on picnics and go to museums. And that was what I thought it was all about. Well, when he decided he was going to get remarried to a person he only knew for like 4 months, I didn't really think anything of it. And then slowly but surely, you know, Dad decides that he's not going to call you for a few days. Then Dad decides he's not going to come pick you up when he's supposed to. And then Dad decides that he wants you to throw your scholarship away to go to school because he thinks you're going to mess up and he'll have to end up paying for it. So, you know, there's just a few things that happens down the line, and you can't control it. That's one of the things that people need to grasp. Like, there's things you can't control, and when you take all that in, you take on this like extra responsibility that you didn't have anything to do with. And that's what happens when you do drugs. Like, you just take in something that you never, but it's a responsibility. It becomes like an everyday thing. So all these things were happening to me. I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving things out, but between 16 and 19, I still got good grades and did everything I wanted to do. And just like Joe was saying, I've had this vision in my head since I started school that I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And I've done that. I work for the Trent-Titans. I produce shows at my school. I anchor shows for my school. I do everything that I'm supposed to do. I get good grades. But then, you know, right when I'm wrapping up, getting done my anchoring, I go into one of the editing rooms and, you know, snort a bag of heroin. That's not normal, by any means. But to know that I could have done all of that and still get the grades I was getting and do the things I was doing, there's a problem there. And I didn't see it, and I didn't care to see it, and I didn't care that I was stealing from everyone that I loved and hurting everybody that I loved, one person at a time. You know, just like Joe says, you don't care. It doesn't matter. And yeah, so I started doing pills when I was 19, just because it helped take away some of those things that you don't want to feel. And I watched people do heroin for a while. I watched people do it every day for like a good month. And I said no. You know, one of my friends that I like to call brother did that, and look what happened, you know. I said that for a month straight. And then one day, you know, you don't have any money, you get pissed off about something, and somebody's handing it to you, shoving it in your face, you're going to do it. Like, that's just how it happens. And that's what happened to me. I was so upset. My dad pissed me off, and I went to this kid's house, and I did it. And from that point on, that was it, because there was no better feeling in the world. And at least I thought that at the time, because there's 10 times better feelings that you can have. And all those days, like, you know, they say in AA, and I know this is more NA based, but they say in AA, you get drunk, we stay sober, because that's 100% true. Like, I can go out and use if I want today, but then everyone, you know, that I'm in this group with is staying clean. That's, I think, a big message to send to people. People are going to care that you went and used, but ultimately that was your decision. So, one day, I went to the Giants game on a Sunday, and I think I used, like 15 bags that day, and I'm walking upstairs, I'm all happy about everything. It's a couple days before Thanksgiving, and everything's going good, at least so I thought. I had like a big thing coming up for school, and the cops came to my house, and they were like, "Are your parents home?" And I was like, "No, they're not." And they were like, "All right, well, you know, we'll stop by another time." Didn't think anything of it at all. The next day, living the dream, so I thought, cops came by again. I wasn't home, so when I came home, there's, you know, a cop in front of my house, and as soon as I'm walking in, he's walking out, and he just gives me this look, and I'm like, what did I do now? My stepdad gives me a hug and he's like, everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, crap. It's like, I got caught, I think. But I didn't really know what happened yet. Because at this point, I was selling over thousands of dollars of all the jewelry I could find for people that I loved on a daily basis. It was like a routine. I would get up in the morning, okay, I have class and work, but before I can do any of that, I have to make sure I steal from somebody I love, go sell it at the jewelry store that I went to every day, and I don't know how they didn't catch on, you know, from day one, but okay, that's fine. And then go meet up with my dealer, because I was at this point going to Trenton by myself, me going into Trenton alone, meeting up with people that I would never even want to look at to get what I needed, because that's what happens. You don't care anymore. And as much as I would like justify who I stole from, I would justify like, well, this member of my family is too poor, so I can't steal from that person. This person is an alcoholic, so I'll steal from this person because it's okay. I don't really know if that was me, like the good person that's in here somewhere thinking, but I don't think that was thinking. I think that was just being sick and twisting all of my thought process around. But getting back to the day that I got caught, my mom came upstairs and she was like, so where's all this jewelry we have pictures of? Where are you getting it? And I was like, you know, here and there. And they're like, okay, so why don't you be honest with us? And one day my mom found a bunch of bags of heroin in a pill bottle, and she saw it and she asked me what it was, and I was like, I don't know what that is, Mom. Like, there was even a little straw in there too. Like, it was beautiful for her to find. I was just like, Mom, I don't know what that is. Like, I know it's in my pill bottle, but I don't know what it is. And she's like, all right. She threw it in the garbage, and I went in the garbage, and I took it out and did it all. Like, that should have been the time where I got caught. But no, it was the cops coming to my house showing me pictures of jewelry that I was stealing for me to get caught. So I just started crying, because that's all you know what to do in that situation is cry, because you don't know what else to do. So I just started crying, and I didn't really know what was going to happen. I really wasn't that person who was kicking and screaming, because I think at the end I was starting to lash out because I didn't want to live that way of life anymore, because it is exhausting. Like, you could run 15 miles, and that's less exhausting than trying to figure out how you're going to get high for that day. It's way less exhausting. I would take that 15 miles any day, and I'm not in shape. So that night, I was brought here, and Kevin, who I love more than anyone in the world, he sat with me and two others, and they told me that, you know, there's a better way to live, and there's a good way of life to be had. And, you know, I didn't say anything. Like, I didn't say, like, no, I'm not, no, this is the only way of life. I think I was really ready. And they say you have to hit bottom before you figure out that you really have this problem. I didn't lose anything. I mean, yeah, I lost respect and trust from my family, but I didn't lose my job. I didn't get kicked out of school. My grade point average didn't drop. Like, I didn't lose any of that. But it was enough to see my mom in tears because I disappointed her so badly. That was enough for me. That's the worst feeling in the world, knowing that you let down the person you care about most in the world. So I went to, as Nick was saying before, the greatest rehab in the entire world, which is the Retreat at Lancaster County. Honestly, that place, I was expecting to be put in a room with some crazy person who was like staring at the ceiling and twitching, and bars in the ceiling, and, you know, a bed like this big, and, you know, bugs crawling on the ground. That's what I thought rehab was going to be like. And rehab was me walking into a building, first of all, getting picked up by an Escalade. That was cool. being brought to this place on like a mountain. It seemed like God was basically putting this light onto this rehab. And I walk in, and there's a fish tank and a fish pond and like couches and like people coming over. Hi, welcome to rehab. Welcome to the retreat. Do you want some crackers? Do you want something to drink? There's Thanksgiving dinner upstairs. It was Thanksgiving the day I went into rehab, and that was really great. Walking out of my house, watching my mom try and attempt to set up for Thanksgiving. That wasn't the best day of my life. But so I go to this rehab, and I'm thinking I'm in a hotel. Like, they show me to my room, and I have a king-size bed and this beautiful bathroom myself, and like no roommate. And I'm just like, I think this is gonna work out. And I just knew. And you know, they had chefs there. They had chefs cooking us food. You know, at the time I was like, they have chefs serving a bunch of drug addicts and alcoholics like amazing food every day, and like there's cleaning service, and like people come into your room waking you up in the morning saying, hi, it's time to go to group. And I'm just like, all right, that's fine. Like, that was the retreat in Lancaster, and that just how it was every day. And 2 weeks in, you know, I'm homesick. I missed everything about being home. I'm up with the horses and buggies, like not in, you know, Yardville, Hamilton, New Jersey, thinking that, like, I hate everything. All these people trying to help me and give me food and, like, go out and buy me cigarettes and do whatever they were basically, you know, willing to do for me. I didn't have, like, a hoodie or something that I wanted, and they were like, okay, well, we'll just go and buy you one. Like, you would think that all of this, like, help, I would be like, all right, yeah, like, let's go to group, let's do this. So 2 weeks in, I had, like, a mental breakdown. I was like, I hate this place. I'm leaving. Like, I'm just going to pack up all my stuff and walk into the middle of Lancaster, PA, 2 hours away from home, and make it home somehow with no money. That was my big plan. And somebody came and talked to me, and they were like, so why are you really pissed off? And I was like, because they said I was going home in a week, and now I have to stay an extra 2 weeks, and that's no way. Like, I'm not being here on Christmas, even though I was already in there on Thanksgiving, so it didn't really matter. They were like, so you're complaining because you have to stay in this beautiful place for another week? And I was just like, yeah, what do you mean? F this place. Like, this, I don't want help anymore. I don't want people caring about me anymore. Like, I can't take it. I just want to be with my family and my friends who are all probably drinking and doing drugs. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And he was like, all right, I want you to just sit here for 5 minutes and think about you leaving, and I'll be right back. And it really took like 30 seconds for me to think, like, what was I thinking? Like, yeah, I'm going to stay here an extra week. God forbid an extra week out of what could have been an extra week out there of me using. Who cares? I'll just stay. It's not a big deal. And from that point on, I went to every group. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I loved it. And the day they told me that I had to leave, I started crying, and I didn't want to leave. Like, completely and the same guy who talked to me that 2 weeks in when I was freaking out, he was like, oh, so you want to stay now? And I was just like, yeah, all right. So, since I got home, you know, it's been rough. I've had some hurdles thrown in front of me. But that's going to happen. That's going to happen. That happens to everyone, not just addicts and alcoholics. It happens to everyone. You have to deal with your problems. And it's okay now, though, because I can wake up and I have a smile on my face, even though something bad is happening. I'm happy because I don't have to use, and I don't have to feel like that broken, depressed, sad, lonely person anymore. I don't have to feel like that. I'm happy to be here in front of all of you, because if I can reach one person, that's all that matters.